and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Good morning, good afternoon. Well, actually, right now it is afternoon because we started a minute late. Welcome, everyone. I have a special guest today. And you know that I'm always trying to find a way to give stuff away and help other people and eventually make money for you. Today, I found a way to save you money and make you money. Let's go to the agenda. I have a special guest today that we're going to discuss. And he's been around forever. In fact, I've known him for a lot of years, and unfortunately, we didn't know each other when I was living not far from him. So we're going to get into that right away. Without further ado, let's bring on Greg Danzig, President and CEO of Charge.com. I had no idea that you guys started in 1995. Greg, welcome.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, it's really, I can't remember really doing anything else. So, but thanks for having me on, Mike. Uh, for your audience, I just want to let them know that I've been in the credit card processing industry for more than 25 years, and I've been around the block in regards to every aspect of business, including GSA. And by far, and I'm not just saying this, Mike is in my opinion, the number one GSA expert in the country. That's without a doubt.
I'm not even blushing. This is water. Nobody get excited. I did forget to mention it. We always like to have fun, and I do. And I'm going to make mistakes. I mean, this is live. We do no editing. This goes right to all four platforms live, no edit. A lot of people record it and then edit it and do all the other good stuff. What fun is that? Then you're just watching a regular movie. So I will make a mistake on purpose, and I want to know in the comments if you found it. And give you a hint. I already made just one. How's that? Oh, we have another guest just signed in. There's another mistake right there. That's pretty good. All right, here we go. I already have a question for you, my friend.
Go ahead.
And it is, let me put that up on the screen if I can. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, yeah. Let me change the size of this a little bit because it was a long question. You can see that, right, Greg?
No, I'm not seeing any question.
All right. Tell me about security. What type of fraud and other criminal activity do you see, and how do you fight it?
You know, it's probably the number one issue right now, or it's been the number one issue, and it's pretty fascinating actually because believe it or not, the number one fraud issue that I've witnessed is identity theft. And not to give your audience like an idea of a business model, but the way these criminals work is they will steal someone's identity, their social security number, their name. They will open a merchant account to accept credit cards. Then they will run stolen credit card numbers through the merchant account, and they could have already $50,000, and they'll open a bank account in the stolen identity name as well. They'll run $50,000 worth of stolen credit card transactions, have the money deposited into the bank account that they fraudulently opened, pull the money out, and then by the time the first chargeback comes in, which is like the first sign that these charges were non-consensual, the money's gone. And so this, we've seen this over and over and over. It is giving credit card processing companies nightmares. And it's a cat and mouse game because there's all kinds of security checks and this and that. And we've done a great job on cracking down on that in general. But it's cat and mouse. These are not run of the mill fraudsters working, out of their basement. These are very sophisticated fraud rings. They have copies of the credit reports. So it is very complex. And that's just one of the many fraud issues. Then we have card testing fraud that we combat, where someone will use a merchant's website to test credit card numbers that they bought off the dark web. And so then you have a merchant having like a million transactions coming through their website in a matter of hours. We have people's websites getting hacked, which is why none of our merchants are allowed to store credit card numbers unless they're approved for it, which is a very, very involved process that virtually no merchant wants to undertake. You're generally going to outsource that 100% of the time. And that's why we use tokenization. We use military grade encryption. So as a merchant, we do everything we possibly can to keep everything safe. And we really believe we do a very good job at that, among the best in the entire industry, for sure.
I spoke with the VP at MasterCard many, many years ago at a trade show I was speaking at. And she informed me that most of the credit card numbers are already generated and they're in their vault, if you will. And it's not hard to figure out. It's what is the algorithm is, it'll come to me. A lot of the credit cards that aren't even issued yet, the numbers are being used.
Mm-hmm. They're just waiting for the cards to close, the accounts to close. Like they recycle the numbers the same way cell phone numbers recycle.
I don't know if they do or not, but these numbers have never, from what she told me, never been assigned.
Okay.
And they're waiting, like when you say I need a new Navy Federal credit card or a new Penn Fed credit card, that they've already got that number there. They don't have to generate it.
Right, it's waiting in the wings.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by the way, is there instructions on how to do that fraud? I mean, I'm a little broke right now.
I mean, it's really easy. Just go to the dark web.
How do you get there? See, this is the problem when you are lily white, generically good. I know there's a dark web. To me, the dark web is when I turn the lights out in the room.
That I cannot really get into that. It's not for ethical reasons. I can't really describe.
I was kidding.
Publicly. Right.
If you did that, I'm sure that we would get cut off immediately. So,
right.
All right. I got another question for you. Let me kick that bad boy up there. Everybody's talking about cryptocurrency. Do you enable clients to accept Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies?
Absolutely. And one of the best things about my company, Charge.com, is that we support virtually every payment gateway out there. And so because of that, we support pretty much every shopping cart, every solution for, virtually every. I'm not going to say every single one, but I would take an educated guess that it's at 99% of all of the solutions out there that are not proprietary, that are, there's certain solutions that if you want to use that solution, then you can only process credit cards with that solution and no other solution. But for anything that's designed to be used with a merchant account, we're compatible with practically all of them, including cryptocurrency processing, which, is, obviously now that cryptocurrencies hit the public exchanges, there's now ETFs where you can actually buy and sell crypto ownership rights of cryptocurrency just by buying a stock in it. So that has, if you looked at the price lately, it's gone up dramatically since then, just in a couple of weeks. I mean, I can't say why, but there's definitely a crypto craze going on and rejuvenation of it due to this ETF rule change. And yes, we absolutely enable merchants to accept cryptocurrency as payment if they choose to do that.
Now, uh, in between question, because I have two more sitting here. In between question is, if I accept, like Dell, for example, accepts cryptocurrency, how do I process that through? I'm assuming it's whoever the gateway is. Uh, I mean, where does that go? I mean, it doesn't exist to begin with. It's vaporware, basically.
Well, it's all set up through like the merchant has a wallet, crypto wallet, and so it's basically an automated form of, let's say I wanted to send you a Bitcoin, which would be a lot of money these days. Then to facilitate that, I would typically log into my wallet, send it to you, and it would appear in your crypto wallet. So when you're doing it through an automated credit card transaction, it's basically doing the same thing, only it's all
It's going wallet to
pre-configured
wallet.
wallet to wallet.
Okay. Uh, Interesting. Very interesting. Everybody's, oh, wrong one. My bad. I already got that one. I moved the mouse. Merchants want to know about fees. How are they fees and costs structured? What advice can you give merchants in regard to getting a good deal? Well, we are talking to the good deal, ladies and gentlemen. He's sitting right in front of you. Now's the guy you beat up to get your deal.
All right, so there's some very, what I would say, esoteric knowledge about credit card processing fees that the average consumer does not know. And for one, um, there's three basic fee structures that you'll come across when shopping around for merchant account or credit card processing services. One is flat rate pricing, and you'll see that at a lot of processors, no matter what kind of card it is, no matter if it's a Visa, Mastercard, American Express, Discover, if it's a debit card, if it's a credit card, it's all the same price. And often that price will be 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. There's a few processors that's their pricing model pretty much. That's it.
My question is the I forgot my question. Go ahead. I was over here looking for something, another question for you.
Oh, okay. And then the second pricing model that's very popular is the tiered pricing, and that is where there is a qualified rate. So some transactions will be deemed qualified, meaning that they don't have anything in the transaction that would cause it to downgrade to a mid or non-qualified transaction. So if it's a qualified transaction, you will get the lowest rate in your contract. So typically the contract will list two or three rates. It'll either be a qualified rate, a mid qualified rate, and a non-qualified rate, or sometimes it's just two: qualified, non-qualified. But either way, depending on the nature of the transaction, the card type, and all these variables, it'll be determined that your transaction is qualified or non-qualified. If it's qualified, you get the best rate in your contract. If it's not qualified, you pay a surcharge. So then you're going to pay significantly more for that transaction. So if you're on that type of program, a tiered program, you need to make sure you're not running a lot of non-qualified transactions. Otherwise, you're going to end up paying a lot more in fees. And for that reason, the best way to set up your pricing, and the way that Walmart does it with their merchant accounts, the way all major retailers do it, is Interchange Plus. So what Interchange Plus is, we just pass through the actual cost of the transaction at wholesale to the merchant. We tack on a very transparent extra fee. That's the plus, Interchange Plus, and then that's it. So then That way, for example, due to changes in law, a debit card transaction is capped at 0.05% discount rate. But if you now think about that, you're taking a card where the wholesale cost for the processor is 0.05% for the discount rate portion of it. It's 0.05% plus 22 cents. So, but they're charging you 2.9%. So think about that markup.
I'm in the wrong
0.05
business.
cost, 2.9%. Their profit on that is astronomical. It's 2.85%. So with Interchange Plus, let's say, I mean, let's take a massive retailer where their markup is, let's say, 1 basis point, 0.01% of every transaction is the markup charged by the processor. So on that transaction, the the merchant would pay 0.06%, the 0.05% cost of the card plus the fixed markup of 0.01%, 0.06%. So what's better for that merchant? To be on Interchange Plus and pay 0.06%, or to be on a flat rate and pay 2. It's not complicated math. And then the same thing with, now there are scenarios actually, some cards can cost more than 2.9%. So on Interchange Plus, you may actually pay more than 2.9% for a particular transaction. But in the scheme of things, it works out way in your favor to do the Interchange Plus.
Very interesting. I'm trying to understand if I'm using a debit card, that's the same thing as me writing a check. The only difference is you get your money immediately. So what you're telling me is the merchant, Winn-Dixie, Publix, wherever it happens to be, Walmart, uh, or even Amazon, they're actually getting dinged, a couple zeros in front of a number because I used a debit card.
Oh yeah, I mean they're not getting the, like, Visa and Mastercard don't let people use their, or businesses use their network for free. So they're going to charge everybody. I mean, if you want to write it, if they want to take a check, they can bypass all those fees, and they're certainly free to do so. But if you want to use a debit card, that means you're using somebody else's network, and you're going to pay
Hmm,
for that. Someone's got to pay for it.
interesting. One other question here. Oh, before yeah, that other question will come back. With the recent AI explosion, do I need to finish the question? How is it affecting your company and payment processing as a whole?
Well, we are seeing first we're seeing stronger fraud controls. So like that scenario I told you about earlier with stolen
Hmm.
identities and stolen credit cards, we're using AI to really crack down on that. Um, so the AI can better identify patterns in an application or in a processing pattern to pick up on that. Additionally, where AI is being used more for just approving a merchant at a new merchant out of the gate. AI is being involved in monitoring all kinds of activity that could lead to financial losses for the merchant and the processor. Um, so it's really on, and then also AI, like when you're a merchant and someone comes to your website to buy something, you don't want a transaction. You don't want the customer to give you a stolen credit card number. So AI is being used to weed those out. So it's really all over. There's hardly any aspect of credit card processing that is not being touched by AI right now.
Interesting. All right. I think it's time for us to get into the reason why we're all here. Let's get over to the slides. And due to technical difficulties, which doesn't count as a mistake, let's get that straight. I'll be running the slides. So I'm going to try to figure out what his timing is so he doesn't have to say, next slide, please. Here we go. It's all about you, Greg.
Oh, is it running?
Yep.
Okay, I'm not seeing it, so I'm going to run off of my personal stash of slides.
Well, get out of your screen share and go back to
Yeah,
the regular
I'm in.
tab.
I'm okay. Got it. Okay, so the first tab is just talking about chart, or the first screen or slide is we're talking about Charge.com. Literally, we are one of the oldest credit card processors in the United States, or in the world for that matter. One of the first to establish an online presence. We are also one of the first, if not the first, to waive application and setup fees. When we started in this industry, it was standard practice to charge a merchant $195 just to look at their application, uh, non-refundable in some cases. We immediately looked at that and said, who wants to pay an application fee just to apply to see cards? So we immediately stopped that, and then we've been innovators all along the way. We were also one of the first to not charge upfront for payment gateway software. It was believe it or not, it used to be standard back in the mid '90s to charge $1,000 upfront to get a payment gateway, and people were paying it. They lined up to pay it because that's what everybody was charging. We were one of the first to dramatically lower that and then ultimately waive it completely. So you could open a merchant account with zero upfront cost. And I'm ready for the next slide.
Too late.
Oh, let's see. That's me. All right. So we offer pretty much everything under the sun that a merchant would need to accept credit cards. So if you're a retail business, like you have a shoe store in a strip mall, or you have a kiosk in a mall, we have the equipment you need. We have the traditional countertop terminals. We have wireless terminals for kiosks. We have, if you're a website, then of course we have everything you need for your website, cloud-based credit card processing with a cloud-based payment gateway to run your web transactions over your website, a virtual terminal for you to key in transactions manually. If you get a transaction over the phone, for example, you can just type it right in to any computer, your cell phone, your smartphone, your computer, anywhere with an internet connection and a web browser, you can run a credit card transaction with us. And everything is secured with SSL security, military grade. So you are confident that everything's private and secure, and the bad guys are not going to get the information. And then we also specialize in mobile terminals that can actually work with your smartphone or standalone. So we have a wireless terminal that looks like a traditional countertop terminal with all the buttons and card reader and a big screen on it. Those use either Wi-Fi that connects to your cell phone, or if you don't mind paying a pretty nominal fee for wireless service, they can just connect directly to the cellular network without having to use your cell phone, and that frees up you from having to worry about being near the terminal if someone else in your company is using the terminal, or whose phone's connected to the terminal. So it's always nice to have that option, to have a terminal with actual built-in cellular ability so that you can connect directly to the cell tower and be able to run credit card transactions. And the cool thing about that is, let's say you get to a trade show, or an outdoor flea market that you don't normally go to, and then there's no cellular coverage, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no cell coverage, your cell phone doesn't work on the cellular network, your wireless terminal is not working on the cellular network. There's also a feature called store, and like a storage feature, where you can run the transaction and it'll go into the credit card terminal. And then, as long as you're not selling a product that you're going to be heartbroken if the card gets declined, or if you're selling a product maybe that doesn't require you to part with any merchandise, like people signing up for something to get something mailed to them or what have you, then it will store all the credit card transactions for that day without running any of them, because you have no connection to the internet. But then as soon as you can get online to the internet, it'll run all those transactions all at once. And then you'll know which transactions were good. If there happen to be any bad cards in that mix, it'll tell you, and then you'll know which customers to fill the orders for. So it's always nice to have that option. So even if you have no connection, you can still do business. And then
Well,
lastly,
let me jump in here real quick. Sorry to cut you off.
no,
We had this conversation. Today's Thursday. What, Monday? What's the first sentence on this slide? GSA vendors are required to accept credit cards. What they don't tell you, okay, is that number one, you're required to accept credit cards at the micro threshold limit of 25,000. You're required. You're optional. You can accept anything over 25,000, and I think you know where I'm going next. I had a
right.
client 10 years ago, brand new company, accepted credit cards, and I can't remember who it was with. It may have been with you. I don't remember. And he calls me up and he's complaining. He says, this agency wants to use their credit card to place a $700,000 order for my IT services. What's that's? Let's just assume 2%. That's $14,000. I said, and your complaint is what? You have your money. You haven't even told your team yet that we have an order. You've already been paid, and that's 14,000 you gave away out of 700,000. If you were to have the thing sitting there for the invoice for a month, if your terms are 30 days, they got to pay it in 30 days. That's fine. How much did you lose in interest by that 700K not being in your bank, even at a paltry 1%, 2%, whatever it is? So he sat down and started running numbers. He says, yeah, it's pretty darn close. I said, tell me if this sounds like I'm hanging up. So
Yeah,
yes, and all of these are done, I believe, on what's called AVS 15, Address Verification 15, or is that antiquated and there's a new standard now?
you know, I have to check to see if GSA cards are treated differently for that. But
Oh,
I,
thank you.
but one thing I wanted.
I'll tell you what they are.
Okay.
You do not surcharge for, you ready for this? The three most non-qualifying transactions: card not present, uh, government purchase card.
Mm,
Some places charge 1% more for card not present, probably another 0.5% for government purchase card. Why a government purchase card? I asked
mm,
the VP at MasterCard. She says the government never does a chargeback. They know where you live.
right. Well,
So
I
hopefully
think.
that answers the question there. It's not here, but the AVS 15 for address verification service. When we were doing it a long, long time ago, we always ran AVS 15, and
Yeah.
a lot of times we get the thing. So check to see in your regs and all and your documents how you treat card not present and government purchase. Card not present, I can understand, but if I'm running AVS 15 through your terminal, as far as you're concerned, that's present. But the government purchase card, that's absolutely ridiculous to charge that kind of money just because it's a government card. And it's not even, they don't even consider it a credit card, they consider it a purchase card, and they
Right.
rotate around. One year it might be MasterCard, then Visa, then American Express, and then back and forth, or then they take all of them, it doesn't matter. I don't know what you're seeing on your end, but uh,
Well, in theory, typically the transactions that are downgraded with a surcharge for being non-qualified incur a higher wholesale cost. So I don't have the interchange charts in front of me right now, but a government card, a GSA purchasing card, could have a higher wholesale cost, even though because it's just whatever Visa and Mastercard decides they want to charge for it via interchange, and it's probably higher. I need to check than the standard transaction. I don't have those tables memorized.
do you want me to finish the MasterCard story?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you're all sitting down. If you're drinking, put it down. Talking with
If
this
you're
VP
standing,
at this
if you're
show,
standing, sit.
whatever you're doing, hold on to something. I'm going to assume, just for argument's sake, and this used to be that way quite a bit, that I'm a vendor with GSA. Homeland Security gives me an order for $100. I'm paying 3% discount. That means I'm walking back away with, without the 30-cent transaction, I'm walking away with $97.
Right.
That 3% that you, I'm using you as an example because I'm sitting here looking at you. You charge me 3%. You, by contract, by taking that card from the government to me, who is one of your clients, you have to give the government back 50% of that fee. So it's 1.5% of everything that the government charges on a card. I say card because there's credit and debit and everything else. Anything that they charge on a charge card or a smart pay card, they call it, that's the program. And half of that, whatever it is, 1%, 2%, 5%, whatever, half of that goes back to GSA. Now, those of you who have a GSA contract, those of you who want one, we'll have that discussion later on. Always reach out, go to the new website, MarketUS.com, and you know how to get a hold of me. The whole thing of it there is that this whole thing has really just gotten out of whack completely. Absolutely completely. I'll yield back to you, Greg.
Well, I think the issue in general is just like, for example, as you mentioned, if a portion of that card fee is being sent back to the government, then surely there's a higher interchange cost, which is why this card is considered a downgraded or more expensive transaction. Merchants will pay more, in theory, for the GSA credit card transactions than say like it's just a regular credit card.
Did you
Um,
call me Shirley?
I did.
Those of you old enough to remember that.
Yeah, yeah, that's a classic. The movie Airplane, right?
Yeah. I can't remember the airplane, what, 12, 13, 14, what
Right.
all, I've lost track. Uh,
Right.
but, yes, you are required to accept credit cards as a quick recap on that. And uh, moving on, I've got a new slide for you. And some of these, uh, some of these logos look familiar. I don't use any of them, but they look familiar.
Yeah, and I had touched on this a few minutes ago that because we are compatible with just about every platform, we are thereby also compatible with virtually every payment gateway and shopping cart solution in existence, or in every CRM system and so forth. We're just full as compatible as can possibly be because we have the flexibility of using different front ends, back ends, and so we can, like the ones listed here, WooCommerce, Magento, and Limelight, and so on. We are just compatible with those, and so because we have so many payment gateway options as well, so like typically if there's a shopping cart that's popular, they will pre-integrate themselves with say 5 shopping carts. We offer all 5. I mean, there's not a popular shopping cart we don't offer. So if you're with us, you're covered generally. I mean, 99.9% of the time I think you're going to be covered.
Merchant integration tools. That's pretty cool. Let me check. While you're doing that, let me check for comments here real quick. You're clear to run.
Okay. Alrighty. And then the next slide is talking about web integration. So even if you're using a solution that is so custom It's not a off the shelf shopping cart that has a drop down menu of choices for payment gateways. Let's say you have a custom made solution on a custom website, custom shopping cart that would bring you into the API. And what the API is that will enable any solution, a web-based solution, an app, to be able to communicate directly with the payment gateway. So there's that's typically not what merchants want, because that requires custom coding, and that would require a developer to do that coding. It's not plug and play for the layperson. So, but we have that option available. That's that's there. So that can pretty much enable anyone to integrate. And all of the solutions, the one I talked about on the last slide, and all the solutions, then this solution of a custom API interface, they are both ultra secure with SSL, military grade encryption, and they're both also, it's all super fast, under 1 second typically for completing a transaction. Um, and so on the next slide, I'm talking about the interface that a merchant will typically have in their account, which makes it really easy to look at your processing history, pull up individual transactions. Um, Additionally, we also offer the ability to see industry statistics. So let's say you're a taxi and you're taking transactions wirelessly in your taxi. I can show in your internet, see how the taxi industry is doing, or the in trends, like is revenue your revenue is down, is are other people's revenue down, or vice versa, is your revenue is up, how's the rest of the industry doing? So because every merchant is classified with a code called an MCC code, um, we can show you crowdsourced data on how people in your industry are doing. Of course, it's totally anonymous. No one's not gonna see any data for any particular business, but just general trends in a particular industry, you'll be able to see, which is actually a really exciting feature.
I love color graphs and all that other good stuff. Wish I knew how to make them. Well, I used to years ago when I was a
Now
kid.
you'll never have to learn. Just ask ChatGPT to make it.
Oh, we're going back there again, huh?
Yeah. And I think that actually concludes the presentation.
We're done. Now let's
Yeah.
get back to live mode here. And where are we here? There we go. We're back here now. All right. We're going to cancel that. Aside from that, I thought that was an excellent presentation. Anybody has any questions, please feel free. Drop them in the chat. Unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to pull the comments from LinkedIn or X or Facebook yet. I'm going to work on that. And quick promo, we've got some time. A quick promo, we have a second show coming up at 2:30, and it's also going to be the announcement of our brand new learning management system. And this is the question I was going to bring up before, and I forgot, and I started remembering it during your part, and then I forgot it. But what do I know? I'm old. Yes, very old. And those of you who have a GSA contract, we can help you. Those of you that don't have one, you have two ways to go. Number one, we can do it all for you. Number two, you can do it yourself at a fraction of the cost. And there should be a reminder out there for everyone from the Lifter LMS team will be with me on today at 2:30. And we're going to go over his complete demonstration of the system. And I know what he's going to do. I've known the guy a long time. He's going to make me bring mine up so he can see just how bad a job I did. But be that as it may, what the heck, right? You can't win unless you fail, and you lose nothing. You learn nothing from winning. You only learn from losing.
Just make sure you fail forward.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. Anything else you got, Greg?
No, I really appreciate you having me on today. Just like you mentioned, we've been around since 1995. This is something really the only career I've ever had. We're actually super excited because we're having our 29th anniversary in August, and then next year is going to be our 30th anniversary. It's going to be
Don't know how
very
to
exciting.
count, do you?
What's that?
Don't know how to count, do you? 23 to 30. Well, I went from 1 to 37. It'll be 38 in August. So, and funny thing is that, not to make it about me, but I work with so many people at GSA. Most of them weren't even alive when I started the business. There's one woman. She's our current contracting officer we have with another live stream we're going to be bringing in with Tony Lewis from Clearly IP. I said, Regina, when are you going to retire? She says, as soon as these damn kids are out of college, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
39 years she's got me beat. I can
yeah,
take that record. I can take that record easy. No problem at all. The only
yeah.
the only downside here is I have a camera that focused out from my studio. I can see the lake. And usually whenever I look over, I can monitor that other camera and I see the alligator come across. I get comments on that like, you have your own pet alligator? No, there was two of them. Now they're down to one, and
Yeah.
the alligator hunters are looking for him. They're going to get him and take him over to the Everglades, and catch that mistake, everybody. Everglades, and that's what they put them in the breeding pool, and that's where they get the food for all these fancy schmancy restaurants. So
Well, maybe you'll be lucky enough
useless
to catch.
information that nobody cares about.
Maybe
So
you'll be lucky enough to catch the capture of the alligator on camera.
we have pictures of three of them in the truck that were captured.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
That might be asking too much.
This is where we should have done the questions and answers. So, anyway, let's do a wrap up.
Awesome!
And, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sitting with us today, or standing, or lying down, whichever. And as you can see, that's not the lake. That white stuff behind me is snow. Anybody believe me? I didn't think so. Anyway, really appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to Greg. And Greg, I forgot that special link you gave me, but you can reach out to Greg at charge.com and tell him I sent you. And our website, MarketUS.com, and check out the LMS and look around. We actually have a blog section, which unfortunately is a little out of date because I've been working on some other stuff. But anyway, I think it's time for us to get out of here. So, Greg, thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you,
it
Mike.
was fun.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
we'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Everyone, thank you so much.